Something shifted in London on September 10th, 2025. Prince Harry, freshly returned to the UK after months away, arrived at Clarence House. King Charles, fighting cancer, opened a door. They met for tea, just an hour, private, almost invisible. But for many watching the royal family fracturing in real time, it felt like a soft crack in a wall that's been built too high. Yet the brother of that kingdom's heir, Prince William, was nowhere to be seen. Walking engagements, royal duties, proximity, it all fell short. 8 miles apart, yet worlds apart in meaning. Can that tea be more than momentary warmth? Can that distance between two brothers, between public loyalty and private rupture, be narrowed again? Because the cost of silence in a family built on duty and public life grows with every unspoken word. The question now isn't just if reconciliation is possible, it's what price will be paid to achieve it, and who has to show up first. Childhood foundations and first fault lines. William and Harry's early years are the stuff of legend. Shared bedrooms, shared adventures, shared vulnerability. When their mother died, the two boys leaned on each other. They walked behind Queen Elizabeth's coffin. They played with the same toy soldiers. The image of princes as brothers was not just about royalty, it was about family. But even then, differences were sown quietly. The heir, that's William, was groomed from birth for duty, institutional responsibility, protocol. Harry, more volatile, more outspoken, more instinctive, grew up feeling both loved and overshadowed. As they moved into adulthood, each took different paths. William toward continuity, Harry toward questioning. These fault lines widened with Meghan's arrival, not because Meghan is a scapegoat, but because her introduction amplified pre-existing tensions about privacy, about press intrusion, about who gets protection and who doesn't. The public narrative often placed William as the quieter one, working within walls, Harry as the one outside throwing stones, or at least asking questions. The legal battleground, RAVEC and security. One of the most concrete battlegrounds in this story, security protection in the UK, specifically the case R, Duke of Sussex, v. Secretary of State for the Home Department, Court of Appeal 2025. Harry challenged a decision made in February 2020 by RAVEC, the body responsible for protecting royalty and VIPs, to withdraw standard security protections from him and Meghan once they stepped back from royal duties. Harry's case claimed procedural unfairness and that the royal household had influenced RAVEC unduly, that the policy required a risk management board assessment, which apparently was not carried out in his case. He argued that, even after stepping back, his risk level hadn't decreased but his protections had. The court, however, rejected the main claims. It ruled that RAVEC had good reasons to depart from its usual policy in this unusual case, that Harry's change in status, stepping back, moving, abroad, justified bespoke arrangements, and that the protections he has received in his UK visits were not unlawful. Why this matters? It's not just about who pays for security, it's about dignity, trust, and perception. Harry repeatedly framed his inability to safely bring his family back to the UK as evidence of abandonment. To William and other institution-minded royal watchers, this kind of public litigation is fuel for internal distrust. For Harry, the RAVEC fight was more than legal. It was symbolic. Recent developments, tea, well-child, and silence. Fly forward past courtrooms. On September 8, 2025, Harry arrives in the UK, honoring the 3rd anniversary of Queen Elizabeth II's death, attending the Well-Child Awards, laying wreaths at Windsor. He's on home soil. Public eye is on him. He walks to known places, Windsor, London, Nottingham. Then 2 days later, he has a private tea with King Charles at Clarence House, lasting around 54 minutes. First in-person meeting in 19 months. But Prince William stays away. On the same day Harry visits Windsor Castle to pay respects, William is in Sunningdale with Catherine at a Women's Institute event. Their schedules, just miles apart, never overlap in public or in private. The palace states schedule conflicts, Insiders suggest mistrust. These moments, Harry's visible attempts at return, King Charles's openness to reconnect, feel like steps forward. But the absence of William in all of them keeps the question alive. Is the gap repairable when one side won't step into the same room? William's position, loyalty, duty, and distance. William's rejection of overt reconciliation isn't arbitrary. For him, the monarchy is a responsibility extended across generations and into years ahead. He is heir apparent. His decisions now shape public perceptions of the future crown. When trust is broken in public, reinstating it in private feels risky. Royal experts note that William sees Harry's public disclosures, including Spare, the Netflix docuseries, interviews where private family matters are laid bare, as breaches of trust. For William, these aren't just personal grievances. They are institutional risks. Insiders say William is concerned that any attempt to reconcile without Harry clarifying past actions could lead to further leaks or repeated exposure of internal family dynamics. There is also loyalty to their father. Charles, ill and under treatment, is asking for connection. Some sources say the king sees emotional urgency. William may perceive that urgency differently, balancing respect, public duty, and the temptation to protect the institution even at personal cost. For William, meeting Harry publicly could be seen as tacit forgiveness, but if not paired with accountability, it could be destabilizing. Harry's position, longing, independence, and grievance. Harry's journey has been a mix of longing and assertion, longing for belonging, assertion for autonomy and safety. Several moments stand out. In May 2025, after losing the RAVEC security appeal, Harry told the BBC he would love reconciliation with his family, expressing regret not knowing how much longer King Charles has. Also, he said that one of the obstinate issues is safety. This current situation, for 5 years, is human life and safety, the sticking point. He's repeatedly mentioned that he misses parts of the UK and that he can't see a world where his kids return safely unless certain conditions change. Harry's work with charities, his public speaking, his media presence have grown. He's built a platform external to the royal machine. That brings power, but also distance. Some of his supporters argue he no longer needs the institution. Some of his critics argue he wants its benefits without its constraints. That tension is fundamental. The unseen tension: trust, privacy, and control. The real war isn't TV cameras, it's control. Control over narrative, over what gets said, what remains private, over security, but also over family lore. A less obvious but powerful weapon is silence. Silence from William, no statements. Silence from the palace about many of Harry's claims. Silence from Harry about certain family details. Sometimes silence protects, sometimes it wounds. Another unseen tension is around privacy versus public expectation. When Harry publishes a memoir, when Meghan shares her story, when allegations, real or perceived, about press intrusion are made, those become public property. William often appears more concerned about tradition, protocol, not airing dirty laundry, even if it means suppressing personal truth. Harry seems less willing to accept that suppression when safety or authenticity is at stake. Then there's emotional control. Who speaks first? What gets leaked? What gets framed? Harry accusing William of ignoring requests, William declining public sessions. It's not just about relations, it's about who shapes the family story. What would real reconciliation look like? Earlier, we sketched 3 possible futures. Let's now deepen them. What indicators should you look for, moment by moment, year by year, that reconciliation isn't just photo ops, but something more durable? Indicator 1, first mutual apology, but in private. Not via interview, not via book, not via op-eds, but face-to-face, off record. One-sided apology seldom heals if both sides acknowledge hurt, misunderstanding, betrayal, but without blaming. That shifts dynamics. Indicator 2, consistent transparency over schedules. Harry has offered to share his UK engagement schedule publicly or with Palace/William's office. Such transparency doesn't guarantee attendance at family functions, but it reduces surprises and overlaps that fuel suspicion. This is small, procedural, but huge in signaling trust. Indicator 3. Join charitable efforts quietly. Invictus, Children's Mental Health, Veterans Affairs, Diana Legacy, areas both brothers care about. If they separately endorse or fund, that's one thing. If they coordinate behind the scenes, share experts, promote each other's work, even cross-reference without joint publicity, it suggests alignment. Indicator 4. Physical meetings. Beyond tea, beyond photo calls. A birthday, a family holiday, a gathering in private upstairs rooms. Not public events, but meaningful moments. If those happen without leaks, they become foundational. Indicator 5. Reframing the narrative. The media will always want leaks and sound bites. Reconciliation will be strong if external observers, journalists, royal experts, see fewer Harry says versus William responds. Stories, and more stories about shared values, shared causes, mutual respect. Gradual, cumulative narrative shift. Segment 9. Obstacles that could stall any reconciliation. Even if both sides want peace, structural, psychological, and time-sensitive obstacles are huge. Mistrust built in public, spare, public interviews, documentaries, all have exposed raw wounds. For William, these are not just personal hurts. They are potential PR and institutional risks. Once something is revealed, it cannot be unrevealed. Power asymmetry and rank. William as heir, as future king, cannot loosen too much. Harry as former senior royal versus current private royal has less leverage. Any concession William makes might be seen as undermining the structure, and any insistence from Harry may appear to demand special treatment. That's an ugly bind. Distance, literal and metaphorical, living in California. Lives built around different social and moral universes, culture of expectation, media exposure, public perception all differ drastically. The longer the separation, the more disparate the daily experiences. Institutional inertia, the royal household, the press office, royal protocols, RAVEC security framework, they all follow rules. Changing those rules or bending them is possible, but slow. Every adjustment is scrutinized, every decision weighed against precedent. That tends to preserve the status quo. Mortality and time pressure. Charles's health, Kate's illness, the looming sense that delaying a reconciliation has emotional cost. But urgency doesn't always lead to readiness. Sometimes it causes defensive crouching rather than open hands. Why it still could happen in the window right now. Despite all obstacles, there are glimmers suggesting timing may be closer than at many other points in this rift. The king's illness has softened some barriers. When a parent is vulnerable, children often reassess old disputes, the desire to see grandchildren, to share legacy, to reconcile memory, all strong human pull factors. Harry's public posture has shifted. Less confrontational rhetoric lately, more focus on his work and causes, more emphasis on safety, belonging, legacy. That makes potential rapprochement less explosive, more manageable. Small acts already happening. Shared communications teams or aides meeting, behind-scenes offers of shared scheduling, Harry's public statements of longing for peace. These are often derided in tabloids, but they matter. They change what's possible. The UK's mood. The monarchy continues to matter to many, but fatigue with royal family feuds is also real. For loyalists and critics alike, people are quietly hoping for something more stable. That cultural pressure may push both sides toward at least appearing to reconcile. Did you know? In his recent UK visit, Harry was within 8 miles of William for much of the day, yet no meeting occurred. That distance, though tiny on a map, felt huge in meaning and was widely interpreted as William snubbing him. A more punchy picture, what could make or break it in the next year. Let's zoom in on what might happen in the next 12 months. What turns this abstract possibility into visible paths? King Charles issues a private invitation to Harry, and maybe Meghan, to spend a weekend at Balmoral or a retreat away from cameras. If that happens, William may be invited or informed. That's big. Harry and William are invited to co-host or support a major royal charity event, not photo call, but working together. If they appear together in mutual respect without crisis, that could shift public opinion. A formal apology or acknowledgement, not through media, but via private letters or mediated sessions. Perhaps Harry apologizing for exaggeration of transcripts. William acknowledging failings of protection, both agreeing on boundaries. Security reform, if RAVEC or the Home Office issues new guidelines that allow for safer, more consistent protection for Harry's family when visiting the UK. That addresses one of Harry's largest objections. Narrative control. If leaks reduce, PR statements are fewer but more thoughtful. If the first story someone sees is not Harry slams William, but William praises Harry's charity project abroad, or vice versa, break the cycle of commentary and counter-commentary. That one change, the tone of the first public word, could change the entire cascade. Conclusion. What will truly reconciled look like and why it matters? True reconciliation won't be a headline. It will be a whisper. It'll be something you sense, more than something you see. It might look like William asking Harry how the kids are, off stage, or William showing up quietly to one of Harry's events, or Harry returning to the UK with Meghan and children without scheduling rows, without public drama, without legal threats. Something so simple it seems mundane, and that's exactly the point. But here's the thing, reconciliation matters beyond family. For a monarchy built on public trust, unity, continuity, it matters deeply. The crown as institution depends not just on image, but on the belief that even its most fragile moments are held together by more than ceremony. We may be at one of the rare moments where time, illness, history, and longing all push against silence. The question, will either brother be brave enough to show up for the institution? Yes, but also for each other. So ask yourself, when the next royal appearance happens, when the Well-Child Awards roll around again, what will you see first? A man returning, or a broken bond in polite company? Because reconciliation won't arrive with fireworks. It will arrive when we stop expecting spectacle and start expecting trust. That's the story in motion. And for the first time in a long time, the motion feels possible.